Well, hello, friend. My name is Ron from CamMastery.com, where you can go to learn how to make great videos with Camtasia. What I do is I come to you, like every Sunday or so, and have something that I can do to help you in your Camtasia journey. What I want to do today is more of a live lesson. So there were some things that we talked about in last week's video, and I wanted to take this week and basically just make a longer lesson. If you have my Camtasia Mastery course, you know that I like shorter lessons. I like to keep them around the 2-minute mark when possible. But there are some times when we want to do something a little bit larger, and so I think this format fits well for that. So last week, if you remember, I'm going to cut over to Camtasia real quick. We were looking at this specific image, and what we were trying to do was create something that was a little bit more engaging while we were displaying this particular image. So part of what we want to do as video creators is we want to have engagement with our audience. One way, of course, to do that is to have ourselves on camera, like you see me on camera right now. But another thing to do is to just make sure that things keep moving and changing on the screen. And so let me walk through what we did to animate this particular video. And we'll take it step by step, animate this particular picture. So back to Camtasia. What we had was Barb was talking, and she had it was about 4 or 5 seconds that she was talking about this particular video or this image. She was talking about her farm. And so what I said was we would want to animate this. So you could just cut over to the farm. That would be fine and just show it like this. Okay, that's very standard. But I said, let's start by adding an animation to it. So I'm going to come a little bit later in this clip, and I'm going to do Shift A on the keyboard, and that adds an animation. And then I said, let's stretch that out for the entirety of that clip. So now we have an animation that really doesn't do anything. There's no change from beginning to end. I'll bring this out just a little further. No change from beginning to end. But I said in a clip like this, we're talking about the size or the scope of her farm. And so when we want to think about portraying how big something is, I think it makes sense for us to zoom in to start and then zoom out, because then things get larger as we're going through the process, as we're watching what's happening. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to the beginning of this and let's zoom in on this. And so what I would do is go up here to the upper right where it says scale, and I would bump this up maybe to 125. So that was the first thing I did. I also noticed that this hay was here and it was kind of cut off. And so what I wanted to do was just kind of drag that over. In fact, if I could get it completely out of the picture, I think that might help. Maybe not quite that far. So I would start here. So again, I went to the beginning of this clip and I said, I want to start here with the clip larger, and then we're zooming out to help show some more scale. So that's one thing we can do. It's a very subtle thing, a very simple thing we can do to add animation to just a still image. So let's start that. I'll just play through that. And you can see it's a slow zoom out, if we want to think of it that way. We're really just starting in and zooming out, or scaling out in Camtasia terms. One other thing I want to do, as we do this, the way that it's animating is a certain way. And you may have seen this. I'm going to zoom back in down here in the lower left. Let me zoom in a little further. I'm going to right click, and what we have here is easing. And I'm using the easing that is auto, and that's fine. And for a lot of animations, going to auto is absolutely fine. But what I want to do instead for this is I think linear tends to be a better, what do we want to say? A better flow for this type of animation. So let's zoom back out and watch this as we play through. And now we see it's completely steady. All right. So to show the difference, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this. I'm going to undo. I'll do Control Z on my keyboard, and I'm going to play through. And notice how it's it kind of speeds up and then slows down toward the end. And that's not exactly what I want. So I'm going to do Control Y to repeat or to redo. So that should be back to linear. I'll just make sure. Yep, it's back to linear. So that's the first thing. As we're going through here, that's a nice way, again, in this case, to show scope or show size, is to start in and zoom out. You don't have to do it this way. Another thing you could do is go from one side to another. But again, you'll want to show some sort of change at the beginning here, and then some sort of change at the end of the animation. So that was the first thing we did. Now, in last week's session, I talked a little bit about, I added something and I said, oh, I'm going to tease you with it. I'm going to tell you more about it this week. So that's what I want to do in this next section, is talk about how we can add even more elements to this. So let's jump back to Camtasia. And the thing that I wanted to add is this thing that I created called Flash. So I'm going to grab Flash and I'm going to drag Flash down here. And it's going to be the duration of that animation, which is fine. So if I just look at Flash by itself, I see it just starts out white in the center, and then as we go out, it gets darker, and that's it. If I look at the size of this, it's currently only at 28%. So if I bump this up to 100%, and then I can zoom out, I can see this is huge, right? This is much larger than my 1920 by 1080 screen. So I'm going to zoom back in. I'm just going to use the mouse wheel to scroll in and out, or scroll up and down to zoom in and out. So scroll up to zoom in. But I'm going to take this back. I'm just going to do an undo and bring this back to this point. So what I wanted to do with this particular item is show how we can use this to add a light element within Camtasia and be able to make some changes to it. And so that's what I'm going to do here in this video. So let's take this and let's come over here. Now it helps when you have a light source in your image. So here we know, if I just disable this real quick so we don't see it, I know that the sun or the light source is over here, somewhere on the left. And so that's what I want to do, is I want to start with it in that location. So this happens to be the center of it. I can see like where the center is. So I'm just going to grab the center of this and drag it over here. And so let me show you, that's with it on, and I'll just turn it off. So there's the difference. Okay, so it adds some kind of element to it. But if I just play through, it's not really doing anything. That nothing's happening. So what I wanted to do was add some more elements to this. So what I'll do is I'll add, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 different animations to just this flash part here at the top. So I'll start here and I'll just zoom in so you can see this. I'm going to go, since I know I want to add 3 or 4, I'll just go to this point and I'll do a Shift A. I'll go to this point, another Shift A, and Shift A. So now I've added, 4 different animations. So there are like 5 different situations or 5 different locations or settings of where I can make some changes. And I'll show you what I mean here. So let's zoom back out. And actually, I'll zoom further in so we can see this. There we go. So I have a state here at the beginning. And so whatever it is at the beginning, I'm fine with whatever that is. I'm fine with it where it is. As I begin to zoom out, what I want to do with this, and I'm going to bring this up to, maybe I'll make it last 1 second long. At this point, I want it to be bigger and maybe brighter, both. So to make it bigger, that's easy. We set our scale here in the upper right is 28.1%, okay? So, let's make it 50%. What does that look like? Okay, well, that makes it a lot bigger. And then it also appears to get brighter as I do that, because we're kind of showing more, more of the image, the bright part of that image is coming in. It's kind of, showing more of itself. Now, if I wanted to make this maybe less intense here at the beginning, the other thing I can do to make it less intense is to drop its opacity. So watch as I drop this opacity in the upper right, then if I bring it down to 0, it's completely transparent, and then I can bring it up and it gets brighter. So maybe I want to start with it very subtle. Maybe I'll just start with it right around 50%. And let's play through this. So now it gets bigger and brighter. Okay, so that's the first thing. So it gets bigger and brighter, and then maybe after a second, I want it to go back down. I want it to do something else. So I'm going to make sure these animations happen one right after the other. So it'll go back down. Yeah, maybe it goes down there, but the opacity doesn't change. Maybe that's fine. So let's just play through that and see what that looks like. So it gets bigger, and then comes down quickly. Maybe not quite that quick. Maybe I'll make it longer, but not quite as long. The other thing is, I mentioned this before, the easing. Again, I'm going to go into easing and I'm going to say, so I right clicked on the animation and I'm going to say linear for this. Do the same thing for this one. Enable easing linear. Make both of those linear. And then let's play through this once more. So it gets bright and then comes back. Maybe I want it a little faster than that. Okay. Then the other thing I can do is I can move it on the screen. So we can have it do the same thing where we have it get brighter and then darker again, or more intense and then less intense. So maybe we'll just kind of repeat these somewhere around here. So what I'll do, let's just copy this. So I'm going to go to this position, how big and bright it is right here. I'm going to move my playhead to that location. I am going to right click and I want to copy its properties. Okay, and then I want that same property to be here at this point in the animation. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste the properties. All right, so now when I look back at my screen, I look at where it is here, I look at how bright that is there, and then I go back over here, it's the same brightness. Okay, same situation. So it goes big and then small and then bright and then down. Okay, so those are the first couple things I want to do. Now I said, so the first one, it just kind of gets bright. And I said, maybe for this second kind of more intensity, maybe we won't make it quite as bright. I'll drop it down maybe to 80% as an example here on the opacity. And then I want to move it. So maybe I want this to move down a bit. And maybe I want it to get, not quite so big. The scale's at 50%. Maybe I only want it to go up to 40% instead. So I'll type 40 and press enter. So now it is getting bigger, not quite as big. It's not getting quite as bright, right? So now it's doing that. And then at the end, maybe I want it to come down even further, maybe to here. Let's see where it was over here. Yeah, so come down maybe even a little more. And then maybe I want it almost completely out. So I'll take it down to like 30%. So let's see what this looks like. I don't know. I'm just going to try it. Okay, yeah, I like that. So that's one way that we can animate this. Now I moved it along the left because again, that's where the light was, but I could have moved it along the top. So let's see if let me just play through this once more and see if I wanted to do something like that. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it staying there on the left, but if we wanted to move it along the top, we could do that. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this entire clip and I'll paste it here. And I'll just slide on down and we'll try this. We'll try something similar. I'll grab that Flash PNG. I'll drag it down, move it over here to the left. I'll start with it. Yeah, I think where we start with it is fine. I'll add a couple of animations, 1, 2, 3 maybe. Make these a little bit longer. Do something similar to what we did before. Something like that. Only this time, let's move it across the top. So we can start here. We said at the second point, oh, you know what? I'm just going to right click and I'm going to paste properties because this is where it was. Okay, so this time I said instead of moving over there, let's move across the top. So let's move up to this point at the top, maybe like a quarter of the way over. And then we'll do the same thing. So over here, we'll maybe move it maybe 20% of the way, so we're like at 40%. So 20% more. And then for the last piece, maybe move it over to here. Maybe even move it down a bit. Yeah, you know what? Let's try moving it down, lessening the intensity. Maybe over here. I haven't tried this before. Let's do that. Let's kind of move this here. And let's see. So how's this look? So it gets big. And it's kind of coming over and moving around. Again, I don't like the easing that's there, so I'm going to change my easing to linear on all of these. Now, one other thing, let me undo that real quick. One other thing I'm pretty sure I can do, let's try this together. I think this will work, is I think I can select this first animation. Now I'm going to hold down the control key and select the second. While I'm still holding down control, I'm going to select the third. And if I had a fourth or a fifth, I could do that. And I think I can right click and enable all of these to linear at the same time rather than doing them one at a time. So again, I just selected one of them, held down control, selected another, And then when I did the right click and enable easing, I was able to choose linear. Okay, good. I'm glad that worked. All right. So now they're all linear. So let's just play through that again. Yeah. It's probably like over here. I don't know if I want it as intense as it is. Its opacity is 100. I think I want to drop it. Yeah, let's drop it down maybe to 80 or something like that. So I'm going to, yeah, stick it somewhere around 80. And then where does it end? Over here down at 40. Okay, play through that again. Yeah, so I guess when it comes over here, I actually want it to drop a little. So I want it to drop at each point. Yes, that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to play through this one more time. Yeah. So you can see here, I'm just at, all it is just a simple, basically a circle that fades in and out, you know, fades from white into darkness or into, I should say, transparency, not even darkness. And I think that adds a lot as we go through here. Okay, so what I did, let me go back to the initial image and just play for you what I did here. So this is what I showed you last week. As I go through, I just kind of made it brighter. Yeah, and I dropped that opacity way down, I think, at one point. So that was me adding just one flash or one bit of animation to it. And what we sometimes can do is we can also add a second. So maybe you've seen this in pictures, and let me go full screen to the camera because I think it'll be easier this way. We might see pictures where the light kind of moves this way together or this way, like it almost balances. I don't know how to say it. It's like a mirror image or whatever it does on one side, it does the opposite on the other side. So let's try something like that. Let's add two flashes and let's try and have them do something opposite each other. Okay, so let's jump back over to Camtasia and do that same thing. We have, let's see, I liked this one. I like this little bit that we had here. Let me just drop this back. We're going to keep this, how long is this? About 3 seconds or so, not quite 3 seconds. So let's drop this down. Let's drop this down. And what I'll do is I will just select this thing. I'll double click it to go to the beginning. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So now I have the exact same flash at the top and that same flash at the top. And I said, well, I'd really like to have the other one in the lower right, kind of like as an opposite. All right, so let's try this. So one of the things that a friend of mine, Lon Naylor, one of my Camtasia mentors, mentioned in a previous video was rather than disabling the track to get to the track below it, which is what I want to do. I want to take, I want to get the lower track and move it to the lower part. Rather than disabling the track, instead lock this top track so that I can get to what's below it. All right, so let me show you how I was doing it before and why this way could be better for you. All right, so back to Camtasia. What I was doing before, if I zoom here in the lower left, is I was saying if I want to move this lower bit here, what I would do is disable this top track, and then I would be able to go up and move this track. But instead, Lon was saying, and let me zoom out a little bit so you can see where this is. So what Lon was saying, and I like his suggestion better, is you can just disable, or lock, I shouldn't say disable, lock that first track. And then with the second one, now I can move the second one and leave that first one in its place. Okay, I'm going to Control Z to undo that. So I will leave that first one locked. But before I move this second one, I want to move the second one for its entirety, for the entire duration. If I move it now, it's only going to move it at this one animation point. Remember, we have multiple animation points. So what I want to do is say all the animation points, I want them to all move to the lower right, in my case, which I guess is that way for you. So let me say select all the animations and make those happen all at once. Okay, so back to Camtasia. I'm going to zoom here to the upper right. And here I see where those animations are. It's just going to allow me to make change to one animation point. So instead, I'm just going to click this. And when I do, here in the center, it says, this button toggles edit all animations. And that's exactly what I want to do. I want to edit all animations, everything along the timeline. Is that what you want to do? I say yes. And so now when I look back here in the upper right, I see all of the animations, the little dots between the animations are red. And if I look down here in the lower left, I can see that same thing showing here on the timeline. All the animations are red. So it's saying whatever change I make is going to apply to all animations. All right, great. So let's do this. Let's try this. So now with this second item selected, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to drag it down here to the lower right corner. Let go. And I'm going to stop locking or unlock the track above. So now, let me just play through and see what happens. Okay, so now, great. I see it playing through, and it did what I expected. So let me turn off the edit all animations because I want to change them one at a time. Now, why do I want to change them one at a time? Well, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to zoom out of here. As I play through this, this one moves off into, whoops, Control Z. This one moves off and to the right. And so what happens to the lower one? Well, it does the same thing. It's moving off and to the right. If I zoom out even further, I can see it's now way down here. All right. So let me zoom back in. I'm going to try something. I'm not sure if this is going to work. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work, but no, okay. What I was thinking, it's not going to work. I was thinking I could rotate this on the y-axis, but it actually just rotates the image. It doesn't rotate the animation. Okay, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this point, and I said at this point in the lower animation, the top animation is right about here. So I want to, the center of it is right here. So I want to reproduce that here. So I want that center part to be right about here. Okay. And then as I continue, the next part, the top is just not quite to center. So let me grab the bottom. Whoops, Control Z. Let me grab this again and make it almost to center. So maybe like this, perhaps. And then the last part, it is past center. So it's somewhere like over here. Let me see where it is over here. Yeah, pretty close. Maybe closer to this point, maybe a little higher. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty close. All right, so let's play through this. Let me zoom back in and just play through this. And then we see them both kind of dancing together, right? So they're doing this thing. All right, good. So they're moving in opposite directions. I like that. What I don't like is that, wow, this is super, super bright down here, right? Like, there's no sunlight down here. So instead what I can do is I can add a color to this. And so if I think about this, the main colors in this are like the golden color of the hay and the grass, as well as the green. If there is a third, it would probably be some blue, maybe from the water and the sky. So I'm going to choose this bottom part. And what I want to do is I want to color it. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go over to my visual effects, and I'm going to choose color tint. And I'm going to grab color tint, and I'm going to apply it to this second item. Okay, so this bottom item. And as I play through here, it now has this pink tint to it, or this reddish kind of tint to it throughout. Now, what color tint does, you can see here on the right, let me zoom in on the right, is it says, look, the light parts will make this first color, and the dark parts will make the second color. Well, I don't have any dark parts on this image. It's just white in the center, and it goes out and fades out into transparency. So without any dark parts, then this color won't matter at all. It only matters for this top part. So let me grab that color, and I said I wanted something golden like the hay. So let me use the color picker and find a nice golden color, nice bright golden. There, we'll pick that color. And when I did that, I forgot to apply it to all animations. So it's going to start off red and stay red and then get golden at the end. All right, well, we can fix that. So let's go down here. I'm going to select this again. This was the color I chose. What I'm going to do, I'll just show you here, is I'm going to right-click this color code, and I'm going to copy it. So now I have that. And then I'm going to go here to the top, and I'm going to say, edit all animations. Are you sure you want to edit all animations? Yes, I'm sure. And then what I'm going to do is apply that to all of these. So I'm going to say the color tint. I think I can, oh, okay, I don't even have to paste. Let's try that. Did that apply to all? No, it didn't. So am I going to have to go through here? Let's just try that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to Control V to paste. Press Enter. Okay, so then it's golden there. golden, golden, golden throughout. Okay, so that's good. I did want that. Then we just want to drop this opacity down. I mean, it's just so bright. So this first one, where it jumps up to 100, too bright. Even here at the start, I think it's too bright. So at the start, let's drop this down, try 50%. Then when we go here, 50%, 40%, good. So it's really subtle now. Okay, let me play through that and see what that looks like. Yes. So that's much better than it was before. You can see this nice subtle, and it's going through. It's almost not detectable, right? It's super subtle. But as we play through this, doesn't this add? I feel like this adds a lot to the video, right? So it has these light, what I call light leaks, and what you can do a search for that, for light leaks, and it just adds this little bit of light throughout. All right, so that's a great way for you to be able to animate your still images. So if you have multiple images that you're showing one after another, you can put in this image, grab this flash image and put it and animate it through. Now what I've done for you is I have created this and I've exported it and I made a link for you in the description. So you can download a zipped project that includes this flash image, this circle that gets bigger, and then me animating a couple of things from the top and from the bottom. So that's available to you as a freebie. Like I said, it's in the description. Let's take a look. Let me jump back to Camtasia and take a look at, I think this is the one I did. So what I did was I think I did the two colors, or is this the one I just did? No. So I used, I guess I kept this white up here and gold. I made the gold a little bit brighter down here. So it's just a little bit of a different process. So it's white. I don't know that there's much movement there. But you can see different kinds of intensity. So I guess as the white one is going down in intensity, the yellow one is going up in intensity. And so part of the reason that I wanted to share this with you is I wanted you to be able to add these to your images as well. Now, your images, in this case, I'm using white and yellow because that fits well with the image that I'm working with right now. But what if we have a product that isn't white or yellow, either one, or maybe it's white and something else? So I grabbed a couple of products from my friend, Lawn Nailer, who I mentioned earlier. So let me go back to Camtasia and I will show you. Let me just disable these tracks here real quick to show you what these look like. So I grabbed an image from Lawn's website, Screencast Profits, I believe is the website. I'm going to check. I think I had it open. Oh, I don't have it open, but that's okay. Pretty sure that's where it is. So here is an item that he's selling. It has, basically the background is white. The key color in this one is green, and then he has black here. Now, the background is white, and so that's what I'll start with, is I want to change my background to white. So I'm going to go up to my properties in Camtasia. And while I'm doing this, if you have questions that you want me to answer live, now is the time to answer or to submit those questions. And I'll check those before we wrap up. But here I have the image set up, and I said I want to change the background. So let me go ahead and go up to my properties here at the top. So I'm going to choose this drop down, go to project settings. That's one way to do it. And I can go here and say I want this background to be completely white. And then I can say apply. The other way that I like to do it is I just like to right click in the background, and then I can go to project settings that way and choose the background that way as well. So that's fine, just like that. So now I have this nice white background, and then what I did was I kept the white at the top. So watch this white. So you can see that the white kind of comes in and does a little bit of a flare there at the top. You can also see that I'm zooming out to show this product. And then the other thing I did was I changed the bottom one to have a greenish tint because that was his other color. So if you look, you can see a little bit of green in the opposite corner, and then it gets a little bit brighter. So what it was originally was it was a lot more intense. And so what I did was I came in here and I dropped that opacity down. I even changed the color a little bit. So I just added this little bit of green. So let me show you here. I'll just play through it. You can see that little bit of green coming there in on the left. And again, it's just adding this extra bit of professionalism to what it is that we're doing. So we just kind of have this brightness and a little bit of color. Okay. And then I did the same thing with another product of his. So he has this PowerPoint Video Mastery course. And I did the same thing. Of course, I added the white at the top, which you can see come in. I left that the same. And then at the bottom, this color, we have like this orangish red color. And so what I did was I added that little bit there off to the right. And again, it was more intense. And so I just dropped that opacity down so that it looked better. So if I play through both of these, I'll just play through both of these to show you what that looks like. We can see, you know, it gets a little brighter, just that little bit of green on the right. I think it adds a lot. So if he was talking about his product, here we have just that still image and a way for us to take that still image and animate it by doing a zoom. We could also pan if we wanted to move from side to side, but then having those colors come in. And like I said, you can have one come in kind of brighter and then this one come in kind of brighter, or however you want from whichever corners. The other thing that you can do with this, now that you have the light leak project, is you can take and add more light leaks. So maybe you want to have a white one and then a yellow one and then a red one and a purple one or something. You want to have like 4 different things, and one's getting brighter and darker and bigger and smaller and sliding. You can, you know, rotate them all around the screen if you want. They're all available to you in the description below. So that was the primary stuff I wanted to show you. Let me jump over to my chat. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. So it looks like you have all your questions answered. Thank you so much for joining me. It is so great to be able to share some time with you. If you do have questions, you can leave them down below. You can leave a comment and I will get to your questions when I can. So this particular thing that I'm working on, you can see I'm actually working on a product that will incorporate this. I'll talk more about that product next week as well. And then I'll show you, some other parts of that and give you some more information about that. So again, I hope this has been very helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you again in another video. So long.